Greetings, children of the screen, your friendly neighborhood nerd scum here once again. I want to take just a few minutes to talk to you guys about Superman, Man of Tomorrow. Alright guys, so while I'm not going to be going into a full breakdown of the plot synopsis, just generally, this movie is a origin story, or a coming-of-age story, that tells the story of Clark Kent transitioning into Superman and kind of trying to figure out if he even wants to be Superman. And in the midst of him having to make this very important decision, he comes up against Lobo, Lex Luthor, and the Parasite. Just to name a few things that happen in this movie, and obviously that not only propels him further and faster into needing to make this decision, but also really makes him grapple with the weight of the decision he now has to make. So, that's all I'm going to be giving you for the plot, because I don't want to go into too big spoilers. There might be some minor spoilers in here, but for the most part, I'm going to kind of try to keep this as something where it's not going to ruin anything. Even if I give a spoiler, it's going to be something that's minor to the point where when you see it in the movie, it won't ruin the effect that that thing has. So, minor spoilers, but you guys get the idea. Alright guys, so in terms of the animation on this movie, I have to say that while this animation might take some getting used to for some folks, it is a nice change of pace and a much, much appreciated improvement from the quality of animation we normally get out of these DC direct-to-video movies. The character designs and like the heavy outlines are very classical and almost feel very Darwin Cook-esque in some respects, but then the actual animation itself and the inner line work within the thick outline basic character structures is very kind of kinetic and modern, and the two really surprisingly blend together very well to create something that might be off-putting to some at first, but once you get the hang and the flow of the style, it's really engaging and super interesting and a definite interesting choice for the character of Superman and his world. Like, I don't necessarily know if this same animation style would work with other characters like Batman or some of the darker characters, but for Superman, this works so well because it so evokes that kind of classic traditional feeling while also being kind of modern, and that's kind of what this whole movie's trying to do, so it works very, very well. As for the writing in the movie, it is also pretty solid, man. I feel that this movie had a tough task set for it, and they do almost a perfect job of splitting the difference between stuff like the New 52 version of Superman and what Zack Snyder was trying, whether he succeeded or not is arguable, to do with the character in Man of Steel, and kind of our traditional Superman. Like in the beginning of this movie, we do have a Clark Kent who is overly emotional in places, and he's unsure of himself, and unsure if he wants the responsibilities of being Superman, or even actually unsure if that is his responsibility. And you really see him going through the same kind of growing pains and self-doubt that, like, New 52 and Zack Snyder tried to add to their character to make him more relatable. However, because of the journey that this character goes on in this movie, by the end of it, we see him embracing all of the things that are fundamental to the character and all the things that make us love Superman. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. And they even do this to the extent that, like, the movie has tons of really great action and punching in it, but at the end of the day, that's not what saves the day. It's Superman's spirit and Superman's heart and that thing that is intrinsically Superman that makes him so endearing and so enduring. So yeah, I think that the writing in this movie, again, manages to take the modern and the classic and blend it together in a very, very satisfactory way. The voice cast for the movie is very interesting, and while I have to say a lot of these people weren't people that I would have automatically thought of as the roles, their performances mixed with the writing of the movie actually makes for some pretty interesting and compelling reinterpretations or newer versions of these iconic characters. And I definitely, again, I'm not even going to name the voice cast here because I feel like if you know who some of them are going in, it actually kind of skews your perspective of it. There were a lot of these performances where I was like, oh, well, like, I know that voice from somewhere, but I don't know who it is. And by the end of the movie, I was just accepting them as that character. Later on, when I looked them up, I was like, oh, that's an interesting choice. I wouldn't have gone that way, but they're great in the film. So yeah, I have to say that while I'm not going to single anyone out specifically, go look at the voice cast once you're done watching this movie, because they all do an absolutely wonderful job in bringing these characters to life. Right on, guys. As I am trying to keep this kind of brief, I'm just going to run through a couple of the things that I really liked and disliked with you real quick. So in terms of the things that I liked, I freaking loved Lobo. He was great in this movie. I'm not as far on board with some people where they're like, he steals the movie. Like, he's a major part of the movie and is good all the way through it. But he really is a supporting character in the story, and without the specific story they're telling, his function within it would not nearly be as good. Having said that, again, the actor they picked to voice him, absolutely fantastic. He's got a frickin' gun that shoots knives in this movie, so how can I complain? The next thing that I really enjoyed was all the action sequences in this movie. You know, like some of the previous DC animated movies had some pretty solid action sequences in them for what they were. They still kind of looked like animation for a Saturday morning cartoon action sequences, but I could tell that in some of them they really tried to push what they could do. However, in this one, all the action animations are beautiful and fluid and well thought out, and they also kind of capture what we want to see in a Superman fight, like very few other even animated properties have done in the past. So I have to give them high marks on their action sequences. They also did a great job of, like, utilizing all the different characters' powers who are at play and doing fun things with all of them. So I definitely have to give the action scenes high marks. They were absolutely great. And the final thing that I want to mention real quick that I really, really loved, that I know some people are not going to appreciate, is the new relationship between Superman and Martian Manhunter that is in this movie. Now, this is the part, guys, where I'm going to be giving some slight spoilers, but nothing too extreme. So, Martian Manhunter is in this movie, and the relationship between the two of them is definitely different. They definitely play on the idea that they're the last of their kind, and that definitely comes up with Lobo as well. However, in this movie, we actually kind of see Martian Manhunter taking almost a kind of, you know, teacher role to Superman, because he has been on Earth, not been on Earth longer maybe, but he's definitely more mature than Superman and has been dealing with the world of men and, like, his idea of, like, I'm an alien, I'm different from them, much longer than Clark has. So I really like that relationship. I really think they fleshed it out well, and I really like the way that it functions in the story and carries the kind of emotional character arcs of both of them forward. It's freaking great, and I know some people are going to hate it, but I really appreciate it. This is an alternate take on the character, so I don't mind these kind of change-ups. Okay, guys, and now for a couple of things that I didn't really care for. First off is kind of a minor thing, but it's also predicated on an assumption, and that assumption is that this is a standalone movie. It's not the beginning of a universe or a trilogy or anything like that. Even though the movie is very much left open for sequels, we were kind of given the impression it was a standalone piece. And as such, I kind of feel like the character of Lex Luthor is a little underutilized. He's performed very well, and he's written well for his function in the story. They establish him very well. I really enjoy that. So I really do hope that we get more outings with him. But as for his use in this one, while it served the story very well, it didn't really seem to be doing justice to his character, so I definitely hope that we get to see that expanded on in the future. The other thing that I didn't really care for in this movie is everything that reminded me of Godzilla 1998. Holy crap! Let me say, the use of the parasite in this movie, I really loved. I was on board with it. He's got this new crazy design that's kind of interesting. Like, he starts off looking like a goth kid, and then he keeps mutating. And, like, at a certain point, he loses his feet. He's just, like, on these stubs, but he still runs really fast. Like, it's crazy, and it's cool. But once he starts reaching his upper levels of power, he essentially starts looking like not Godzilla from Godzilla 1998. That thing's not Godzilla, guys. Just make a note of it. Not Godzilla. So yeah, he started looking like that, and like the whole end of the movie kind of became almost like a kaiju movie, Superman versus a kaiju, which is a cool concept, and it's dope, but it would have been a little bit cooler if Parasite looked like, not even like our traditional Parasite, but if he just didn't look like a giant iguana. That's kind of all he looks like in the end, is a giant iguana. And with all of the, like, interesting takes on the character designs that they had done, and all the, like, new cool designs they had for various characters, I find this to be highly disappointing. And I also find that when he gets big like that, they don't really, while the animation style isn't really designed for that. When you have a monster that is that big, you really need to put in some detail to it to really emphasize the level of power it has, not just its size. And I feel like it's the one place that the animation really lets me down or falls flat for me. But, you know, your mileage is definitely going to vary.
I don't want him to feel different.
He is different. He lifted a tractor with one finger, Martha. Whoever put him in that ship had no idea or care for how dangerous a world they were sending him to.
Look! Up in the sky!
This planet is protected, alien.
It's ass-whooping time.
I thought Martians only existed in the movies.
Those movies are terrible.
Let them go! My name is Kal-El of Krypton, and I come in peace.
Right on, guys, so those are my thoughts on Superman, Man of Tomorrow. Overall, I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it. As I said, down the whole way, like, there's a lot of really great things going on in this movie. There's a couple of missteps here and there, but I definitely feel like this movie is of much higher quality than what we're used to getting from the DC Direct films, and I really hope that this kind of shows a new direction that they're going in, where they are going to kind of go back to almost like their earlier model, where they were kind of trying to do things that were unique and different and interesting, and they weren't just trying to, like, do their extended continuity for as cheap as possible to make as much money to anyone who will shell out for the newest thing. Like, this actually has heart, and this feels like it was made as a passion project, or made out of by people who love the character. It's not just the next product. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. I definitely give it high marks. I'm not going to give it a rating, because I hadn't planned that or anything, but go watch this movie, because it's one of the better Superman movies I've seen in a while. Like, this would go right up there with me in terms of good representations of Superman, along with the animated movies of, like, you know, Superman, All-Star Superman, or Superman versus the Elite. Like, those are animated movies that, like, they definitely have their high spots and their low spots, but I feel that they do a great job of representing Superman and embodying why we love him. And especially for people who don't read the comics, I think that's really important, that we give them versions of the character that represent those things. That way we don't get any more frickin' Man of Steel movies. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Have a good one. Nerd Scum. Out.